There's a specific kind of sinking feeling, a feeling of defeat that I think is uniquely reserved for the backyard cook.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking
Do
about.
you know the scene? It's Saturday afternoon, you're standing there, tongs in one hand,
Maybe a cold drink in the other.
of course, and you're staring down at a grill grate. And on that grate is something that maybe an hour ago used to be a beautiful, expensive rack of ribs.
And now it is essentially a briquette.
It's a tragedy. You lift the lid, the smoke clears, and you see it. Charred black on the outside, probably like ice cold on the inside.
Mm.
And then you have to do that walk of shame back into the house
Mm.
and tell your guests, hey, good news, we're doing Cajun style tonight.
Which, let's be honest, is the universal code for I burn dinner.
Exactly.
Mm.
And for the longest time, I just accepted this. I think a lot of us do. We treat grilling as this primal, chaotic thing.
Right, like you're just wrestling with fire.
Yeah. You throw meat over a flame, you hope the wind is blowing the right way, you maybe poke it a few times, and you pray to the barbecue gods.
It feels like an ambiguous art form where luck plays a bigger role than skill.
It does. It feels like an inexact science, as you say. It's wild, it's outdoors, it's open flame.
But the source material we're looking at today, specifically Mastering the Grill, the owner's manual, it completely flips that script.
It really does.
The authors argue that grilling shouldn't be a guessing game. It should be, and arguably is, as precise as something like baking.
Which sounds almost blasphemous.
Right. Baking is chemistry.
Totally.
It's exact measurements, temperature control, controlled environments. Grilling feels like the Wild West.
Uh-huh.
But that's the mission of this deep dive. We're taking a huge stack of research that breaks down, the physics of thermodynamics, the chemistry of muscle fibers, and the mechanical engineering of the grill itself.
We're trying to move you from being what the source calls a grilling extremist.
I think I know a few of those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Someone who just lights a massive fire and hopes for the best. We want to move you from that to an educated owner.
And the payoff isn't just better tasting food, though that's a huge part of it.
That's a big part.
It's confidence.
Right. It's the freedom to stop staring at a recipe card and actually understand why the meat is reacting the way it is.
Yeah, what's happening on a molecular level.
When you understand how heat moves or why gas burns differently than charcoal, you can cook anything, anywhere. You stop being a slave to the instructions and you start mastering the medium.
So we have a lot to unpack here. We are going to settle the gas versus charcoal debate, and I warn you, the answer is based on chemistry, not just nostalgia.
It's not about feelings, it's about science.
We're going to decode the invisible forces of heat transfer, figure out why your steak isn't searing properly, and we are even going to get into some seemingly insane techniques, like throwing a steak directly onto burning coals.
No, great. Just meat on fire.
It sounds terrifying, but we'll get there. So let's start with the elephant in the room. The great debate.
Gas versus charcoal.
Yeah. If you ask 10 people, 5 will say gas because it's easy, and the other 5 will say charcoal because, it just tastes better.
It's usually framed as convenience versus flavor, and that's a valid framing on the surface.
On the surface, sure. Gas is the weeknight warrior. Turn a knob, push a button, dinner's on in 20 minutes.
Right.
Charcoal is the weekend ritual. It takes time. It's messy. You get ash on your shoes. But the source material points out this massive aha moment regarding the actual chemistry of combustion that explains why they are so different. It's not just about, the smoke smell.
No, and this is the aha moment for most people. We tend to think heat is heat. 400 degrees is 400 degrees regardless of where it comes from.
I definitely thought that.
But chemically, the heat produced by charcoal is fundamentally different from the heat produced by gas.
And it comes down to what the fuel is made of. This part really surprised me.
It's fascinating. Let's look at the combustion. Charcoal is essentially pure carbon.
Yes.
It's wood that has been pre-burned, down to its carbon essence. So when you burn charcoal, you're combining carbon with oxygen.
C plus O2.
Right. The byproduct is carbon dioxide and heat. That's it. It is a very, very dry heat.
Okay, so key takeaway number 1. Charcoal equals dry heat. Now, let's look at gas. Propane or natural gas.
These are hydrocarbons. The name gives it away. Hydrogen and carbon.
Right.
When you burn a hydrocarbon, the chemical reaction produces carbon dioxide, heat, and water vapor, H2O.
And it's not just a little bit of water, is it?
No, it is a significant amount. The source indicates that for every molecule of gas you burn, you're producing substantial moisture.
What's the number?
Statistically, gas is about 30% moisture. If you are running a gas grill for 10 minutes, you are releasing roughly half a cup to a full cup of water into the cook box.
That blew my mind. So if I'm grilling on gas, I am effectively steaming my steak at the same time I'm trying to sear it.
That is exactly what is happening. Think about the holy grail of grilling, the sear.
Yeah, that crust.
You want that dark, mahogany, crispy crust. That is the Maillard reaction, which we'll get into. But for that reaction to happen efficiently, you need two things: high temperature and a dry surface.
Because if the surface is wet, the energy has to spend all its time just boiling off the water before it can even start browning the meat.
Precisely. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit, browning. That doesn't even start until you get north of 310 degrees.
Wow.
So if you're pumping humidity into the grill, literally spraying the meat with water vapor from the flames, you are chemically inhibiting the temperature rise on the surface of that meat.
You're creating a little microclimate of steam around the burger.
A steam cloud, exactly.
So that explains why on a gas grill, you can get those nice grill marks, the black stripes where the hot metal touched the meat. But the rest of the steak in between the marks is usually just kind of gray-brown.
Correct. On a gas grill, most of the searing is coming from the conduction of the hot grate itself. But on a charcoal grill, because the air is so dry and the radiant heat is so intense, the entire surface of the steak browns.
The whole thing.
You get that all-over crust that you find in a great steakhouse.
That is a crucial distinction. It's not that gas is bad. The source is very clear. The gas is great for convenience.
Of course.
But strictly speaking, scientifically, it is wet heat.
It changes the texture. You simply cannot get the same crust on a humid day as you can on a dry day. And a gas grill is, perpetually a humid day.
Okay, speaking of gas grills and marketing,
What?
there's another number that people obsess over when they go to the big box store to buy a grill.
Oh, yeah.
The BTU.
The BTU myth. Bigger is always better, right? That's what the salesperson tells you.
That's the assumption. You see a sticker that says 60,000 BTUs, and you think, wow, this thing is a jet engine. It must get hotter than the grill next to it with only 30,000 BTUs.
Which is a complete misunderstanding of the physics. A BTU, a British thermal unit, is simply a measure of energy.
Huh.
Technically, it's the amount of heat required to raise 1 pound of water by 1 degree Fahrenheit. In the context of a grill, the BTU rating is not telling you how hot the grill gets.
So what is it telling me?
It's telling you how much fuel it eats.
It's a measure of consumption, not output.
Exactly. It's like looking at a massive truck and judging its top speed by its low gas mileage.
That's a great analogy.
You might have a massive 6-burner grill. It needs 60,000 BTUs just to get the air inside warm because the volume of that box is huge and the metal is probably really thin.
Right. It's inefficient.
Very.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a small, efficient, well-insulated grill might only have 20,000 BTUs, but it could actually reach a higher internal temperature because it's not wasting energy heating a massive void.
So if I'm out shopping for a grill, I shouldn't just chase the highest number on the sticker.
No. You want to look at flux, which is heat per square inch, but that's rarely on the sticker.
So what should I look for?
Instead, look at the construction. How heavy is the lid? Is it single-walled or double-walled? How well do the burners distribute the flame? Don't fall for the horsepower trap.
Because a high BTU rating on a cheap grill just means you're going to be buying a lot of propane tanks.
A lot of propane tanks.
While we're on the topic of burners,
Yeah.
if you are a gas grill owner, the source mentions a visual check you should be doing, something that tells you if your grill is actually healthy.
The flame check. This is so important. You need to look at the color of the fire. Next time you fire it up, just take a peek under the grate.
What are we looking for?
You want a clean blue flame. A nice crisp blue. Blue indicates complete combustion.
Okay.
It means the ratio of gas to oxygen is perfect and you're getting maximum heat with minimum waste.
And what if it's yellow or orange?
Yellow means incomplete combustion. It's dirty burning. It means you aren't getting enough oxygen into the mix.
And that's bad because
Well, for one, it results in soot, which can get on your food. It means lower temperatures and wasted fuel. Even worse, in a confined space, a yellow flame can produce carbon monoxide.
So if I see yellow flames, what's the fix?
Usually it's a cleaning issue. The source gets into this, spiders, and we will talk more about those little nightmares later, or other debris might be blocking the air intake venturis.
The little tubes.
The little tubes. or the burner ports themselves are clogged with grease. If you see yellow, don't just cook through it. You need to do some maintenance.
Okay, let's pivot from the fuel to the machine itself, the hardware. The source traces the history of the grill, and it's actually really interesting how the design itself dictated the cooking style.
It really is an evolution of the box.
We started with the stick over fire method, which is, effective but pretty tiring.
Your arm gets sore.
Then we moved to the hibachi or the firebowl.
Which are essentially open pits, all direct heat, no lid.
Right. And this is great for thin cuts, satay, skewers, thin burgers, things that cook fast.
But you're limited. You can only cook with radiant heat from the bottom up. If you put a thick roast on a saibachi, the outside will char long before the heat even penetrates the center.
The game changer, according to all the research, was the invention of the kettle grill. The classic Weber shape.
Mm-hmm.
The most important part of that invention wasn't the bowl. It was the lid.
The lid changed everything. It seems so simple, but by putting a lid on the fire, you transform the grill from a heater into an oven.
It captures the heat.
It captures the air. This introduced the ability to control temperature through airflow using vents, and more importantly, it allowed for indirect cooking.
Yes.
Before the lid, if you put a whole chicken over a fire, you were just fighting a losing battle. With a lid, the hot air circulates around the chicken. You can roast, you can bake, you can smoke.
It creates a convection oven environment right there in your backyard. And then you have the heavy-duty evolution of this idea, the ceramic grill.
The big green egg, the kamado, the tandoor.
These are the thermal batteries of the grilling world.
Thermal battery is a perfect way to put it.
That makes so much sense.
It's all about mass. A standard metal grill has thin walls. Heat escapes easily. A ceramic grill has these thick, heavy walls that absorb and hold on to heat.
So once it's hot, it stays hot.
For a long, long time. You can hold a low temperature of 225 degrees for 18 hours for a brisket because the walls are just radiating that stored heat back in. Or you can open the vents, let it rip, and hit 750 degrees for Neapolitan pizza.
So you get efficiency and stability. That's the trade-off for, the weight and the cost.
Exactly. They are incredibly versatile machines.
Then we have the smoker or the pit grill. And the source makes a really clear distinction here. Grilling is not smoking.
No, they're different disciplines, different sports entirely.
Grilling is high heat, radiant energy, relatively fast.
Smoking is low heat, indirect air, and time. Lots of time.
Yeah.
The offset smoker design is fascinating because the fire isn't even under the food.
Right, it's off to the side.
It's in a side box. You are cooking purely with the flow of hot, smoky air.
Which brings us perfectly to the physics of it all. The force breaks down heat transference. Now, I know everyone's eyes can glaze over when we say physics.
Okay, we'll make it simple.
But if you want to be that educated owner, you have to understand the 3 ways heat hits your burger: radiant, conduction, and convection.
It is less complicated than it sounds, but
Yeah.
knowing the difference allows you to troubleshoot your cooking. If your food is burning on the outside but raw in the middle, it's a physics problem.
Okay, let's start with the big one, radiant heat. The source uses the sun as the analogy.
It's the best example. The sun is 93 million miles away. It's not heating the empty space between us and it.
No.
It sends out energy waves, infrared radiation. That energy travels through the void until it hits something solid, like your face. Then and only then does it convert to heat.
So in the grill, the glowing coals are my tiny personal sun.
Yes. Or the ceramic briquettes in a gas grill. That intense stinging heat you feel on your hand when you hold it over the fire, that's radiant heat.
And that's the main way grilling works.
It is the primary engine of grilling. It cooks the bottom of the food that is facing the fire. It's line of sight heat.
Then we have conduction. This is contact.
Direct physical contact. Heat moving from one solid to another. In our case, it's the hot metal grate touching the cold meat.
And this is where my grill marks come from.
Exactly. And this is why preheating your grill is absolutely non-negotiable. Metal is a great conductor. You want that grate storing a ton of energy so that the nanosecond the meat touches it, that energy dumps into the meat surface, creating those sear stripes.
What happens if the grate is cold?
If the grate is cold, you get no marks, and the meat just sticks because the proteins bond to the metal before they can properly sear.
Okay. And finally, convection.
Convection is the movement of fluids or gases, hot air rising and swirling around.
And as we mentioned with the kettle grill, this only really matters if the lid is down.
Right. If the lid is up, the hot air just rises into the atmosphere and is gone. It does nothing for your food. But if the lid is down, that hot air is trapped. It swirls around the food, cooking the top and sides.
So it cooks from all angles.
Convection is what cooks the center of a thick roast. It's what ensures a chicken cooks evenly. If you are cooking anything thicker than, say, an inch, you absolutely need convection.
Okay, so radiant cooks the surface fast, conduction brands the stripes, convection cooks the interior.
You've got it. And all of this, all three methods are really trying to achieve one glorious chemical reaction.
The Maillard reaction.
The tasty reaction, the browning reaction.
What's actually happening then?
It's a chemical dance between amino acids and reducing sugars. It usually kicks in around 300 to 310 degrees Fahrenheit. This is what turns bread into toast and raw beef into steak. It creates hundreds of new flavor compounds.
And again, this just reinforces the whole gas versus charcoal point. To get to 310 degrees on the surface of the meat,
you have to get rid of the water first.
it always comes back to the water.
Right. If the surface is wet, the temperature stalls at 212. No Maillard reaction, no flavor. You just get gray, steamed meat.
So that's why patting your meat dry with a paper towel before you grill it is such a pro tip.
You're helping physics along. You're giving yourself a head start.
Okay, so we understand the machine, we understand the physics. Now we need to actually make fire. The source has some very, very strong opinions on how to start a fire.
It does. And it starts with a basic fact that most people don't know. Wood and charcoal don't actually burn.
Excuse me, what?
Solids don't burn, gases burn. You have to apply enough initial heat to the solid fuel to cause it to release volatile gases. That gas is what ignites and creates the flame.
So getting the fire started is actually the hardest part because you have to force that gasification. And this is where we need to talk about the chimney starter.
The single best tool.
If there is one tool we are endorsing today, it is this simple metal can.
100%. If you do not own a chimney starter, go buy one. It costs like $15, maybe $20. It looks like a metal cylinder or a big coffee can with holes in the bottom and a grate in the middle.
And how does it work?
You stuff newspaper underneath, you put your charcoal on top, and you light the paper.
Why is that so much better than just, piling the coals in a pyramid and hoping for the best?
It uses physics, the chimney effect. Hot air rises. As the paper burns, the heat shoots up through the cylinder of coals. This creates a vacuum at the bottom, pulling in fresh, oxygen-rich air through the holes.
Ah, so it feeds itself.
It creates a self-feeding engine of heat. It lights the coals evenly, very quickly, and most importantly, cleanly.
Which leads us to the lighter fluid taboo. The source is pretty adamant about this.
Please don't use it. Just please.
Why not? It's so easy.
Lighter fluid is made of petroleum distillates. It's basically jet fuel. When you soak your charcoal in that, you are marinating your fuel in chemicals.
And that flavor actually transfers to the food.
Absolutely. Charcoal is porous. It absorbs that fluid like a sponge. If you don't burn it off completely, your burger will taste like a gas station.
Ew!
It leaves a chemical residue that just masks the natural flavor of the fire and the food. It defeats the entire purpose of cooking over charcoal.
But
Yeah.
the source does offer a little caveat. If you are in a pinch and you must use lighter fluid, say you're at a rental house and that's all they have.
Okay, if you have absolutely no other choice, patience is your only friend.
What do you mean?
You have to let it burn off completely. I'm talking about waiting until every single coal is fully covered in gray ash and glowing orange. If you can still smell the fluid, it is not ready. Do
Right.
not put food on a fire that smells like chemicals.
Got it. Okay, so once the fire is lit, the next challenge is maintaining it. I feel like this is where people panic. The temperature spikes or the fire starts to die and they don't know what to do.
The mantra here is so simple. Air is fuel.
Fire breathes.
It needs oxygen. A lot of people forget about the vents on their grill. They light the fire and just let it do whatever it wants. But those vents are your throttle. They are your gas pedal and your brake.
Explain that.
If you open the bottom intake vent and the top exhaust vent, you are flooding the fire with oxygen. It will burn hotter and faster.
And if you close them,
You starve it, the temperature drops. You can choke a fire out completely just by closing the vents. That is how you control the temperature.
not by squirting water on the coals.
Please, no. That just creates ash clouds and massive temperature swings. Use the vents. They're like a volume knob for heat.
Now, for those moments when the fire is dying and you need a sudden boost, the source mentions a hack that I found hilarious, but also genuinely effective.
The leaf blower experiment.
I love this. It feels like something from a cartoon, like Wile E. Coyote.
The author tested different ways to stoke a dying fire. Blowing on it, fanning it with a magazine, using a little bellows. But the winner, by a landslide, was the electric leaf blower.
It sounds kind of dangerous.
It is intense. You point the leaf blower at the air intake vent.
Not into the grill itself.
No,
That-
or you will have an ash volcano covering your guests. You point it at the intake vent and you force air into the system. It acts like a blacksmith's forge.
Wow.
You can take a dying bed of coals and turn it into a blast furnace in about 60 seconds.
Just maybe warn your guests before you turn it on. You don't want to cover grandma in soot.
Definitely a before the food goes on trick,
Yeah.
but it proves the point. Oxygen is what drives the fire.
Okay, let's move on. Techniques.
Mm-hmm.
We are going beyond the burger now. We need to distinguish between the two main ways to set up your grill.
Direct and indirect.
This is maybe the most important skill for a grill owner to learn.
I think so. Direct grilling is what we usually do. Food directly over the fire. This is for thin cuts, steaks, chops, shrimp, vegetables.
Things that cook fast.
Exactly. Anything that cooks in under 20 minutes or so.
Because if you leave it there too long,
Yeah.
what happens?
The outside burns before the inside cooks. We've all eaten that chicken leg that has charred black skin but is bloody near the bone.
The worst.
That is a direct result of trying to cook a thick cut over direct heat. Radiant heat is just too aggressive for long cooking time.
So for the big stuff, whole chickens, pork shoulders, racks of ribs, we go indirect.
Two-zone cooking. This is the secret. You bank all the coals to one side of the grill. You put the food on the cool side, the side with no coals underneath it. Then you close the lid. Now, the radiant heat isn't hitting the food directly.
You're cooking with that circulating hot air.
You're cooking with convection. The hot air circulates from the hot side to the cool side and back around.
It's basically roasting.
It's roasting with wood flavor. It allows you to cook low and slow. It is the only way to do real BBQ or large roasts without completely ruining the meat. It turns your grill into an oven.
Now, I want to talk about the technique in the book that actually stopped me in my tracks. The source calls it caveman style.
Cooking in the coals.
This sounds insane to me. You literally bypass the grate entirely.
You take the grate off, you throw it on the lawn, you get your natural lump charcoal, and it needs to be lump charcoal.
Why?
It has to be real wood carbonized, not briquettes. Briquettes have clay binders and ash fillers you don't want on your food. So you get that lump charcoal glowing red hot.
Okay, I have my bed of glowing coals. Then what?
You use a hairdryer or a fan or, yes, a leaf blower on low, and you blow off all the loose gray ash. You want clean, glowing embers, and then you lay your steak directly onto the fire.
Right on the burning coals.
Right on the fire.
Why on earth would anyone do this?
It creates a crust unlike anything else. The heat transfer is conductive and radiant at the absolute extreme. You get a searingly hot, immediate crust.
And no grill marks?
No grate marks. Because there is no grate, the crust is uniform across the entire surface of the meat. You don't just get stripes. You get a wall-to-wall mahogany crust.
But doesn't it taste like ash?
Surprisingly, no.
Yeah.
As the meat hits the coals, the water in the meat vaporizes instantly, creating this tiny steam cushion that pushes back against the ash.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And the fat drips directly onto the coal it's touching, vaporizes, and shoots that incredible flavor right back into the meat. It's smoky, it's primal, and it's incredibly fast.
The source mentions the Scotch steak recipe for this technique.
Yes, the legend is that workers in steel mills would shovel clean coals from the furnace and cook their steaks on the shovels right over the heat. It's a technique born of necessity that just happens to produce amazing results.
And the source also mentions doing this with vegetables. Sweet potatoes in the coals.
Oh, this is one of my favorites. You take whole sweet potatoes, don't even wrap them in foil, and you just bury them in the dying embers of your fire after you're done grilling.
And you just leave them there.
Leave them for an hour.
They don't just burn away into nothing.
The skin chars completely. It becomes a hard, black, carbonized shell. But inside, the moisture of the potato gently steams the flesh.
Wow.
When you crack it open, the inside is incredibly sweet, unbelievably soft, and has this hint of smokiness that you can't get in a regular oven. It's primitive, but it's so sophisticated.
I love that. It requires a total trust fall with your fire management. Now, let's go the opposite direction. From primitive to civilized. Planking.
Planking is fantastic for delicate foods. You use a wooden board, usually cedar or alder.
And you have to soak it first.
You have to. You soak it in water for at least an hour, otherwise it just catches fire immediately.
And you put the fish right on the wood.
Yep. It serves two purposes. First, it's a mechanical barrier. If you've ever tried to grill a delicate piece of flounder or a salmon fillet directly on a grate, you know the heartbreak of it sticking and falling apart.
Oh, yeah. The fish falls through the great
The
disaster.
plank protects it.
And the second purpose.
Flavor. As the bottom of the plank sits on the hot grill, it starts to smolder. It releases steam and these beautiful aromatic wood oils. It gently perfumes the fish with wood smoke while steaming it from below.
So it's a very gentle way to cook.
It's almost impossible to overcook or dry out fat this way. It's a very elegant technique.
Speaking of wood smoke, let's get into the science of smoke itself. We aren't just stuck with the flavor of charcoal. We can add wood chips.
Wood is a seasoning. You have to treat it like a spice. Don't overdo it.
The source mentions soaking wood chips before you use them.
This is actually a bit controversial in some BBQ circles, but the source advises soaking chips for at least 30 minutes.
And the logic is?
The logic is that wet wood smolders. It produces that nice, lazy blue smoke rather than just flaring up and burning away instantly into a white, acrid smoke. You want that lingering, clean smoke.
And we need to match the wood to the food.
Yeah.
Right. You wouldn't put a heavy wood on a light fish.
Absolutely not. You have your spectrum. On the light end, you have fruit, woods, apple, cherry, alder. These are mild and sweet, perfect for poultry and fish.
Okay.
In the middle, you have things like oak and pecan. And then you have the heavy hitters, hickory and mesquite.
Mesquite is intense.
It is very aggressive. If you use mesquite on a piece of tilapia, it's going to taste like an ashtray.
Right.
You save the mesquite for the big, bold beef cuts that can stand up to it. It's all about balance.
Okay, we are at the finish line. We've prepped, we've lit the fire, we've cooked the food. Now, how do we know when it's done? And please, please tell the people to stop cutting the meat open to check.
Do not cut it open. You are letting all the magic escape.
Yeah.
When you cut a steak on the grill, the internal pressure pushes all the juices out onto the fire. You lose flavor and you lose moisture.
So what do we do instead? The source distinguishes between two types of doneness, tender cuts and tough cuts.
This is the key. You cook a steak completely differently than you cook a brisket.
Let's start with tender. The steak, the pork chop.
For tender cuts, you are judging by internal temperature. That's it. You're monitoring the tightening of the muscle fibers.
How so?
At 120 degrees Fahrenheit, the proteins are just starting to denature. That's rare. At 140, they're contracting more, squeezing out water. That's medium.
So for a steak, you really need technology.
Buy an instant read thermometer. It's the most important tool you can own after the tongs. Don't do the thing where you poke it with your finger and compare it to your palm.
Oh, the palm trick.
That old trick is notoriously inaccurate because everyone's hands are different. Just use the thermometer. It takes all the guesswork out.
But what about the tough cuts? The ribs, the brisket, the pork shoulder.
Temperature is deceptive here.
Yeah.
You can cook a brisket to 190 degrees, and it might still be as tough as shoe leather if you cooked it too fast.
Right.
With tough cuts, you aren't just cooking the meat, you are melting connective tissue.
Collagen.
Collagen. It's the tough, rubbery web that holds the muscles together in hardworking muscles like the shoulder. Collagen doesn't melt based just on temperature. It needs time at temperature. It starts to dissolve into gelatin around 160 degrees, but it's a slow, slow process.
So how do you test for that, if not temperature?
The fork test, or the probe test. You ignore the thermometer number to a degree. You stick a fork or the probe of your thermometer into the meat. If it slides in with almost no resistance,
Like what?
like sliding into a jar of peanut butter or a stick of warm butter, if it feels like that, it's done. Even if the meat looks pink, if that collagen has turned to gelatin, it's ready.
That's the difference. Steaks are done when they get hot enough. Ribs are done when they get soft enough.
Perfectly said.
What about vegetables?
You're looking for crisp tender. You want the heat to weaken the cell wall so it's not raw and crunchy, but you don't want to obliterate the structure until it's just mush.
It's a fine line.
It's a very fine line. Asparagus, for example, goes from perfect to a limp noodle in like 30 seconds.
Okay, before we wrap up, we need to talk about safety and maintenance.
Yeah.
There was one specific detail in the source that genuinely terrified me.
Let me guess. The spiders.
The spider web danger. It sounds like an urban legend, doesn't it?
Yeah,
But it's a real problem for gas grill owners.
it is. Spiders in the grill.
Why? Why are they in there?
Certain spiders are attracted to the smell of the additives in propane and natural gas, specifically the mercaptans that give gas its rotten egg smell. They crawl inside the burner tubes, the venturi tubes, and they spin these dense, thick webs.
And that blocks the gas from...
It blocks the gas from exiting the burner ports properly, so the gas backs up and flows out of the air intake, which is usually right behind your control knobs. When you light it, you get a flashback fire behind the control panel. It can melt your knobs, burn the hoses, or in a worst-case scenario, even cause a tank explosion.
That is terrifying. So, clean your tubes.
Use a bottle brush or a pipe cleaner. If you haven't used your grill all winter, check the tubes before you light it for the first time. It is a 5-minute check that could save your grill and maybe your eyebrows.
And the general cleaning routine.
Scrape twice. Once before you put the food on, when the grill is preheating. A hot grate cleans easily. All that debris turns to ash and just scrapes right off.
And the second time.
Scrape again immediately after you take the food off. Don't let that grease and gunk harden into cement overnight.
And finally, the leak test for gas grills.
The soapy water trick. Once a season, or if you ever smell gas when the grill is off, mix some dish soap and water, brush it on the hose and all the connections.
If you're looking for bubbles.
If you see bubbles growing, you have a leak, tighten the connection or replace the hose, and please do not light a match to check for leaks.
Please don't blow yourself up. So let's recap this journey. We've gone from just, throwing meat over a fire to understanding the chemistry of the fuel itself.
We know that gas adds moisture, which actively fights the sear. We know that charcoal provides dry, intense, radiant heat.
We've learned that the lid is a tool that controls convection, turning a simple grill into an outdoor oven. We've learned that air is the throttle for your fire.
And we've learned to judge doneness by biology, the difference between muscle fibers tightening and collagen melting, rather than just guessing or cutting things open.
Right.
The underlying philosophy of the book is really about liberation. The author believes that once you master the science, once you understand why the heat moves the way it does, you get the freedom to improvise.
You stop being a slave to the recipe card.
Exactly. You can start playing with fire in the best possible way.
That's the real takeaway. Don't just cook, understand what you're doing.
That's it.
So here is our final provocative thought for you to chew on. We talked about the caveman's steak throwing a beautiful piece of meat directly onto the dirty, glowing coals. He goes against everything we are taught about cleanliness and control.
It really does. It just feels wrong on an instinctual level.
But it relies on pure, unadulterated heat management. So the question is, are you ready to trust your fire management skills enough to bypass the grate entirely? Is your fire clean enough, hot enough, and stable enough to cook right in the heart of the beast?
It is the ultimate test of the educated owner.
Give it a try, and let us know if you survive. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Happy grilling!